Hey guys, what's up? It's Brainez here, and welcome to my series on basically everything you need to know about Valorant 3D, or at least just the basics of Valorant 3D. So let's get started. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to extract the .rar file onto your desktop, and here is the pack. Now if we open the pack, we have After Effects presets. Those are pretty self-explanatory on how to install. You basically want to open up your file explorer, like here. Then you want to go to wherever your After Effects is installed. Go to After Effects 2021, support files. Go to presets, create a new folder, call it whatever, and just throw all your presets in that folder. The next folder that we have is Umodel, which is how we will be porting stuff in Valorant. The next thing that we have is our 3D folder. So this has our PSA plugin for Blender, all the characters, all the guns, all the maps, as well as some map textures, and PSA Animations pre-made for y'all. So basically, once you have it open, basically you want to go ahead and copy the directory of the Blender 3D import PSA master, and you want to open it. Then you want to go to add-ons and you want to copy this directory. Next we can go ahead and open up Blender. My Blender looks like this because I'm using a different render engine known as eCycles, but it doesn't really matter which version of Blender you use as long as it's above 2.8. We're going to start by going to Edit, Preferences, go to Add-ons, hit Install. You want to paste in that directory that we copied earlier, and you want to choose the one that ends with 280, hit Install Add-on, and now we can search for PSK, make sure it's checked, hit Refresh, hit these three lines, and hit Save Preferences. Now we can close this. The next thing that we are going to set up is we are going to set up Umodel. So to use Umodel, you want to open it, and I have this little text document called defaults. This text document contains the AES key, which is this, as well as a packs directory. Now this is my packs directory, however yours may be different. To locate your packs directory, you want to open up our file explorer, and then you want to go to our local disk or wherever it's installed. Go to Riot Games, Valorant, Live, Shooter Game, Content, Packs, and we want to copy this directory and just put it in the document. And after that, the defaults document is set up and we can start using Umodel properly. So to use Umodel, you want to open up the defaults text document and you want to move it to the side of your screen. And then we are also going to be opening the Umodel application. When you first run it, you may get an error with Windows saying not to run it. That's just because it's an unregistered developer, so it will always do that. So next we want to copy our packs directory and paste it into this first section here. Next we want to check override game detection, Unreal Engine 4, and then we want to scroll down all the way and we see Valorant. Next we want to hit OK, and we want to copy our AES key and paste it in, hit OK, and as you can see, Umodel is now open. We can close these two other documents. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder. I'm going to create this folder over here on my desktop. It's going to be called Umodel Export Folder. And we're going to copy this directory. Next we're going to go to Tools, Options, and you want to choose Export to this folder. Click these three lines, choose the directory, and hit Select Folder, and then after that, make sure skeletal mesh is PSK and static mesh is PSKX. Hit OK, and now you are good to go. That's gonna be all for the first tutorial, as this is just setting everything up, making sure everything is like installed, and then the other thing is just make sure you have Blender, because you're gonna need that. And other than that, you're good. This video will be about how to set up and use PSA Animations inside of Valorant. So let's start. The first thing that you want to do is open up the pack, go into the Umodel folder, and we want to launch Umodel. So we open up the application and we open up our defaults folder. We're gonna copy the packs directory, paste it in over our game detection, Unreal Engine 4, and then Valorant. Next, we're gonna hit OK, and we're gonna copy this directory, the AES key, and hit OK. The next thing that we're gonna do is we want to figure out which type of animation you want. If you want an equip animation, you would go to Game, Equipables, Guns. Let's say you want a Vandal equip, you would go to Rifles, AK, S0, Third Person, Animations. And here's all the animations. So in this case, I would want to export a equip animation. So I'd find the equip LB and the equip UB, which is right here. I'd choose export, and I would make sure the directory is in our Umodel export folder that we created earlier. And we're gonna hit OK. Next, we can close this. Now we can open up our Umodel export folder, and we want to go open up Game, Equipables, Guns, Rifles, AK, S0, Third Person, Animations. So a props folder is basically a ton of info about the animation. So it shows how many like frames it is and just other stuff like that. The config, it is, one sec. It looks like that the config is just a list of bones, and the PSA files are basically the actual animation that you will use. If you want to tidy things up, you can delete these. I will, because you don't necessarily need them for this type of animation. However, for more complex ones, you will. Next, we're gonna go ahead and open up Blender. Once again, my Blender looks a little different because I'm using a different render engine, but that is no difference compared to the normal one. Once you open up Blender, we're gonna use our middle mouse to pan around, and we're just gonna drag and select and hit delete. So now there's nothing in our scene. Next, we're gonna do File, Append, and we're gonna grab our character. The character is already in the pack, so here's our pack. We're gonna go to 3D, then Characters. In this case, I want the equip animation to be Cypher, because Cypher is a pretty cool agent. It's one of my favorites. Object, and then you want to double click the Cypher, then you want to go to Object, and you want to select both these, hit Append, and as you can see, we have our character. Also, if you want to pan around your scene, you can do Shift and then the button next to 1, so then you can just simply pan around your scene using Q and E to go up and down and WASD to move. So then we want to select the mesh, not the bones, but the mesh of our character. Then we're going to click this little arrow up here, and we're going to find PSK, PSA. Next, we're going to hit Import PSA, and we want to go to the directory of our upper body and lower body animations, which is right here. And we're going to start with the upper body. So immediately you notice it's rotated and the facial bones are messed up, but that is not to worry, as I do have a fix. Next, we're going to file append our cipher again, but this time we're just going to move them a bit. Just over here. And we're going to do the same thing, however, this time we're importing the lower body animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the animation on the lower part of the character. So we're going to go to the lower body, we're going to select the bones, and we're going to go to pose mode. And once you're in pose mode, we're going to hit W, so then the cursor becomes a circle. And we're going to hold and click until all these bones are selected, like so. And let's say you accidentally click away and you want to select more, you can hold shift and it'll just add to the selection. So we're just going to do that right now. And once all the bones are selected, we're going to extend this, and we're going to select all these, and we're going to right click copy. And now we're going to go back into object mode. We're going to come over here using shift and then the squiggly line. We're going to go to pose mode, and then we're just going to select all these bones right here. Delete I, location rotation, paste, and okay, it looks like I didn't select a proper bone that I need over here, so I will need to change that real quick. So I'm just going to select all these bones just in case I make a mistake, it will copy all those bones. And now we're going to do the same thing over here, just copy it and paste it. It's a little bit of trial and error, so if you don't get it the first time, don't worry. And as you can see, we have gotten it. What went wrong was I didn't select all the bones over here. So if I go back into pose mode, this orange bone here, I believe it controls the rotation of the waist. Or this gray bone, I guess. Yeah. It controls this. I didn't copy it over there, so it didn't paste the proper orientation. So now, as you can see, this has been fixed. However, the facial bones are messed up. You can see this if we go into textured mode. The face bones are just whacked, basically. So to fix this, we are going to go back into objects, or the object viewer. We're going to do file, append. We're going to append our cipher one more time. I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees. So he's facing this way. We're going to go into pose mode. Going to hit W. We're going to select all these bones. I, location rotation, right click copy, go back into object mode. Going to go into our pose mode on our main character. Going to select all these bones, delete I, location rotation, paste, and oh, sorry about that. And now our character is done. However, I accidentally selected the neck bone, so I'm gonna undo that and just change my selection so then it doesn't include the neck bone. Great. So now if we go into textured view, the eyes are looking normal again, which is very nice and good. We can delete this now, and we can select our character. We're gonna go to delta transform. I'm gonna set the rotation X to -90, and we're gonna click this little X button. And we're gonna move the location Z until his feet are on the proper place, as well as the location Y. So then he's right in the center. Delta transform is different than regular transform, because on delta transform it's almost like a adjustment layer in After Effects. that it's a transform that changes no matter what. So it's kind of like a offset that you start off with. So that is pretty much how you set up the base animation. And then the next thing that we're going to do is append the gun. So we're going to do File, Append, go to our VALORANT Pack, go to 3D, go to Guns, and here's a ton of collections. So I'm going to do Avalanche and Avalanche Vandal. Go to Object, hit A, hit Append, and as you can see, here's our gun. Some of the guns may not be parented, so in this case this one is, but sometimes what will happen is it's not, so you just get this. So to fix that, we select our magazine, add child of, we're going to click this eyedropper and we're going to choose the bones, or aka F0, and then under the bone we're going to choose magazine main. Yes, hit and then you're done. Okay, so now this gets a little tricky. We're going to move the gun into the right place manually. So something that helps is just to have 2 views and go to the end of the animation. So go to, and it also helps to go to the end of the animation. Gonna zoom in, and we're just gonna rotate it, and hopefully we get it looking nice. It also helps to set the transform orientations to local, but yeah. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've set up the animation. It looks like normal now, I guess you can say. So now if you play it, it's not parented. So to make sure that it stays on the hand, we select the gun bones, which are right here. We go to this here, we hit add object constraint, child of, click this eyedropper tool, we choose cipher, and under the bone we choose R_hand, right hand, hit set inverse, and now it looks normal. And if you want to be extra like savvy or whatever, you can keyframe this bone right here when he pulls it back in the animation, but that's just if you want to go the extra mile. And lastly, if the animation is too short, you can select the AO here, go into pose mode, hit A, go back to object mode, we will go to frame 0 and hit S on your keyboard, which will scale the animation, and then you want to scale it to like maybe 120. So now if you play it, the animation is a lot slower. How to port characters into your 3D software of choice. So let's begin. We're going to open up the pack and we're going to go to Umodel. Once we're in Umodel, we're going to open up the defaults Notepad as well as our Umodel startup. Copy the directory, paste the directory, override game detection, Unreal Engine 4, Valorant, hit OK, and we're going to copy our AES key like so, paste, hit OK, and we do not need this anymore. So to basically port characters, all characters have something called like kind of like code names or Umodel names. So basically, for example, Vampire is Reyna in the game, and Wushu is Jet in the game. So what I'm probably gonna do is I'm going to texture in the agent Jet. So the codename for Jet is Wushu. So I'm gonna open that. Go to S0, third person, and we're gonna go to models. And now if I open up the scale mesh, as you can see, here's our model. But the third person model is actually not the most high quality. It's the character select. So this is the character select model. It's the most high quality. So that is the one that we're gonna export. So just to clarify, it's game, character, Wushu, S0, character select, and models. And we're going to export the scale mesh and make sure it's in the Umodel export folder. Now I am going to clear out the stuff that we exported earlier because we don't need it. And I'm just going to hit OK. Like so. And yeah, so that's about all we need so for now. We should be good, but before we close Umodel, let's open up game. Characters, Wushu, S0, character select, models, third person material. Okay, great. So we have everything that we need, and now we can close out Umodel. Okay guys, so now that Umodel is closed, we can go ahead and start up Blender. Once Blender is open, delete everything in your scene by dragging, hit delete. Next we're going to go File, Append, and we're going to append our VALORANT shader. Now to get the Blender VALORANT shader, it is in the VALORANT pack. We go to 3D, and there's an Octane shader if you're using the Octane render engine, and there's also a VALORANT shader. We're going to be using the just normal VALORANT shader. Append it, go to Node Tree, and append this. And just like so, it's appended. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Import, PSK, not PSA. PSA is for animations and PSK is for models. So we're going to go to our Umodel export, go to Game, Characters, Wushu, S0, Character Select, Models, and we're going to import the model. So as you can see, here's the model. It looks pretty nice. However, one thing that I would like to note is this is just the PSK PSA way. If you want more high quality models, you can import them using GLTF 2.0. However, this is just the simplest way to do it. Then you want to right click on the character, shade smooth, so it like looks normal. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select our character and we're going to go into shading. So as you can see, there's already pre-materials on here. So if we check use nodes and we change one of them, so for example this, as you can see, this is basically just the bod. So that's basically what it is. So I'm going to just turn off use nodes because we don't need that really. I'm just going to, like, yeah. Okay. So now that we have this, we're going to open up our folder. We're going to go to our Umodel export, which is right here. We're going to go to game. Going to go to characters, Wushu, S0, third person, materials. As you can see, this is all it exported. So in Blender, we're going to go to our body, which is right here. We're going to check use nodes. We're going to delete this, and we're going to hit add group VALORANT shader. We're going to link the material output to the surface, and then we are going to drag in our diffuse texture, so right here. Now as you can see, it has color, but it doesn't have like normal maps or anything else, so we need to change that real quick. Next, we are going to drag in our the MRAE texture as well as the normal texture. So here's the MRAE. We drag the yellow to the yellow, like that, and the normal to the normal, and make sure this is set on linear. And just like that, we have the pretty much like the base texture, I guess, set up. If you want, you can make a custom emission map. I actually will be going over how to make that in this video, so or in this like set. The next thing that we are going to do is we're going to go to our hair. We're going to check use nodes, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So group, pattern, shader, link output to surface, and we're just going to link the hair diffuse like so, the MRAE like so, the normal like so, and make sure it's set to linear. And just like that. Another thing is, if you want to use hair textures, you can by you can use a hair texture by using Core or Yannick M's shader that has hair built in. But yeah. So the next thing is the eye. I personally don't use the eye, so it's this white bit. So I go into edit mode, I hold L, and I just delete it. That's basically it. Okay, now that's done. Voila. And the next, and we can delete this material since it's not needed. And just like that, we have everything textured that we need to be textured. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I want to talk about the face. I have a way to make skin pores in Blender. So this is just kind of a cool little detail if you want to add it. So hit new material, hit tab, hold L, so then the face is selected, hit assign, go back into object mode, so now the face is white. We're going to copy this material, which is the body, going to paste it onto here. However, we're not going to use a shader, we're going to use a BSDF. So add a principled BSDF. We're going to link BSDF to surface. We're going to link base color to diffuse. We're going to link the normal map to a bump. And then we're going to add a normal map as well. And we're going to link normal to normal, color to color, normal to normal. And then the next thing is the MRAE, so we add a separate RGB. Red goes into metallic, green goes into roughness and smurfic, and then blue goes into emission, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, it doesn't go into emission. Whoops. I did this wrong. Okay, there we go. So now it's proper. It's red to metallic, green to specular, and blue to roughness, like so. And the last thing to finish it off is the skin pores. So if we open up the VALORANT pack, which is right here, we go to here, we go to 3D, we go to our characters, you'll see the skin pores JPEG file. We will drag it in, and we will add it to the height section of the bump map. Immediately you will notice it's like that, so just set it to about 100 for the X and the Y. And now the skin pores, I usually have the strength not too high, so like about 0.183 on the max. And as you can see, if we zoom in, we have some skin pores that you can add, which look pretty nice, I guess. It's just a little thing you can add that helps. And after that, you're pretty much done making the character. Now this is how you make an emission map. So let's say I want the hand to be glowing, or like this part, or I'm just gonna do the hand because it's easier to mask out. So let's say I want the hand glowing. So what we'll do is we'll open up After Effects or Photoshop. I'm gonna use After Effects since I'm more familiar with it. So I'm just gonna let that open up. And I'm gonna pause the recording so then it opens up real quick. Okay guys, so here I am inside of After Effects. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Control I, and I'm basically going to import my material, or the diffuse material of the body, into my After Effects. So if I hit caps lock, here it is. So we're just gonna create a new composition, which it is right here. Set this to full so then we can see what we're working with. And we want to make this hand glow, right? So what we do is we find something that's like already glowing, so like the cyan, and we're gonna create a solid. And then we're simply just gonna mask it out. So we select the layer, we grab the mask tool, and we just, well, mask it out. It's very, very self-explanatory. So we just mask it out, like so. Okay, so there's one of the objects done. And if I turn it off, it looks decent, I guess. And then we're gonna mask out this bit here. So 1, 2, 3. So, and then we're just gonna do the exact same thing on this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and just like that, we have the mission map done. And all we do is we delete this, go to composition, save from as file, save it wherever. I'm gonna save it in my Umodel export folder. So characters, Wushu, SO, third person materials. I'm gonna call this mission. We're gonna set as a PNG sequence, hit OK, and we're gonna hit render. Now we can close After Effects since we don't need it anymore. And we can open up Blender. Next we can go into our shading, and we want to open up the main body, which is right here. Okay, basically what you want to do is you want to add an add shader, then you want to add an emission node and link color to this, and then you can change the strength. So now if you go into this, as you can see, it is glowing, which is what we want, and it's doing it on both hands, which is great. So that is basically how you texture characters. I hope that you enjoyed. Hope the skin pores thing helped y'all a bit. And yeah, so that's how you do characters. And also GLTF 2.0 gets a higher model. So if you want a higher res model, then do that. But this is just the easiest way to. How you can put gun models inside of Valorant. So it's pretty easy to do, and yeah, so let's get into it. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna open up Umodel, and we open up the application defaults, copy the packs file like so, paste it there, override game detection, Unreal Engine 4, Valorant, hit OK, and open up the AES key like so, close it, minimize, and we're ready. So if you want to export a gun or a knife, what we can do is we go to equipables, we will go to guns or melee, and also if you want to like export this the spike or something like that, even like here's here's the diffuser for the spike as an example, or here's the spike, you know. So if you want to export any of that, feel free to. But today we're going to be exporting a gun. So we're going to open up guns, rifles. I feel like exporting a gun skin. So I'm going to go to a website that shows me all the gun skins. So I'll do that real quick. Okay guys, so I decided to export the luxury collection, and I'm going to export the luxury vandal right here. So to do that, basically we go to rifles, we go to AK, and we're gonna go to luxury. We're gonna go to first person, we're going to go to material or models, and we're going to export both of these. And if we just open it, here it is. If you want a higher quality export, you could go to options and just set this to GLTF 2.0. But I'm just going to do PSA since it's the easiest. So we select both of these. We're going to hit export. We're going to hit OK. And now if we go to our Umodel export folder, we can open up game. Here's we don't need that. If we go to equipables, guns, rifles, AK, luxury, first person. So here's our materials. Looks good. Here's our models. This looks good. So now we can close Umodel and we are done with that bit. Now you want to open up Blender and delete everything in your scene. And we're going to click this little arrow. We're going to go to PSA. We're going to hit import PSK. We're going to go to desktop, Umodel exports, game, equipables, guns, rifles, AK, luxury, first person. I'm going to copy this directly right here. Go to models and we're going to import both of these. You can reorient the bones, but there's not really a need to. So we're just going to hit import PSK. And here is the models. You will notice that they're like kind of blocky almost. So to fix that, you select these, right click, shade smooth. And now they're not like blocky. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select their magazine. We're going to go to the object constraint tab. We're going to hit add object constraint child of. We're going to choose the luxury, and under the bone we're going to choose magazine main. And just like so, now when we move this bones, it is treated as one object. And we can also move this in here. Whoops. Never mind. Just, yeah. But now it's treated as one object, so if we move this or rotate it, it follows it, which is really good. Next, we're going to hit File, Append, and if we open up the asset pack and go to 3D, we have the VALORANT shader, Octane if you want to do Octane. Go to Object and, go to Node Tree and select this. Now we can go into our texture view, and we can go to shading. And here's two materials already made. So what we can do is we can check use nodes, and this is just the main one. So we can delete this. We're gonna hit add group and their VALORANT shader. So the diffuse is basically the what you see, like the colors on it. The MRA is I believe it's like extra reflections for the normal. I don't necessarily know what it is. Let me look it up. So an MRAE is used for the metallic and the roughness of the texture, and the normal is used for reflections. So we're gonna go ahead and open our materials. So let me do that. Okay, so here it is, and we're gonna add our diffuse right here, and we're gonna link it, and as you can see, it's just color, like there's nothing else to it. The next thing is our MRAE, which is right here. Next is our normal, and make sure this is set to linear. And next is our AEM, which is an additional texture. Some models come with them, some don't, so if yours doesn't, don't worry. And now, as you can see, we have the texture basically set up. Now this, let's see what this does. Okay, so this is this little bit at the top. So I will be looking through this and see if we have the material real quick. Aha, so this is the titanium. So this tells you what, okay. So if we look at this, okay, so we have the color, which is right here. So what we will do is we will set this to this, this to this, and we have the titanium right here. So what we do is the red equals 0.16, so like so. The green equals this, the blue equals 1, and the alpha is set to 0, it looks like. The emission is set to 6, it looks like. And we're basically done texturing that, so we can close this. And that is pretty much it for gun texturing. It's a lot easier than character texturing. If you want to add scratches, it's really easy. Just like add an overlay in Blender, which isn't hard to do at all. And that's about it. So you can save this as whatever you want. You can use it in your own animations. I believe this one is already ported for you in the pack, so you don't need to port this one, but if you want to practice, feel free to. And that's about it. So yeah, in this tutorial we'll be going over how to port VALORANT maps using Cmap. And the next video will be about texturing them without Cmap. If you don't know what Cmap is, it is a script that ports the entire VALORANT map textured and ready to go. So let's begin. So I'm not including Cmap in the pack because it is a paid program and I don't want to leak it for anyone. So if you do want to buy Cmap, you can search up Core Organic M, and here's a script for it. But so basically to set up Cmap, basically we don't need this folder. You want to export your VALORANT game, so the engine and the game folders, which is literally everything inside of Umodel. And this is Cmap. So and you want to export the engine and the game folders inside your Cmap folder, like so. And I also like to have my defaults directory in here, so I have my packs directory. So we're going to start by opening up Cmap. We're going to paste in the path, hit OK. We're going to type in yes. In this case, we are going to be porting Haven. So we're going to type Triad and hit enter. This will take a bit of time, so give it a second. So now it is done, we can close it. And now we can open up the Cmap blend file. If you want to use an FBX for like Cinema 4D or something else, you can use it. However, texture blending won't be available. So just honestly, just use whatever. If you're only using Blender, then use the normal one. But if you want to use like Cinema 4D, Maya, or something like that, use the FBX version. So you want to paste in your data directory, which is where your Cmap folder is. So in this case, it's right here. So I will delete, paste, quotations, and we're gonna change the map name to Triad, since that is what we are porting. So we can either import the full map or just a single UMap. I'm gonna import the full map, but if you want to import a single UMap, you would set this to false, set this to true, and you would choose the .json file. So I will show y'all how to do both. If both goes well. So we're gonna start by doing the full map. And I'm not going to import instance objects because they are out of place usually, so you have to put them in manually, and for the sake of the tutorial we don't need to do that. So I'm going to save this. I will pause it, and you want to go to Window, toggle System Console so you can see what's going on. I'm going to hit Run Script, and now as you can see, it is doing its thing. This will take about 10-20 minutes. So what I will do is just pause the recording, and I will unpause it once I get back, or once it stops. So after that, yeah, and it basically just does this, and if it freezes occasionally, don't worry, just let it finish. It finishes once it says it's all done. Okay guys, so as you can see, it finished. It says it was done, and you know when it's done when it says all done. So we can minimize this. We can go through our layouts. The shaders are compiling, or it finished compiling, so we're good on that. And the map is pretty much ported. We'll be going over how to texture without the use of Cmap or any external shaders or whatnot. So we're gonna start by opening up Blender. And we will delete everything. And we're gonna do File, Import FBX. So in the maps, you will notice that if I go to 3D Maps, so you want to go to open the pack, go to 3D Maps, and here it is. So we're gonna open up Split, because this is a good one to like learn to texture, I guess. So give it a second. As the FBX is importing. So just give it a sec. Okay, so as you can see, the FBX is finished porting. And yeah. Okay. So basically, so let's say we want to texture this area up here, okay? So if I set this to the third circle texture view, I'm gonna start with like traditional textures. So let's say we want to texture this grass. This box. So I'm gonna head to it. I'm doing this by doing Shift and then the button next to 1, which is right here. So you'll notice it has a name, and normally you would have to go to Umodel and export the texture, but luckily in the VALORANT pack, if I go to 3D Maps, Map Textures, it has every single map. It has every single texture in here. So this is ported by a guy named Perbo. I'll give him credit. But basically, here's the stone old grass. So what I can do is we copy the name, but we don't want to include M0 or MI. And in this, we search the map textures. If it doesn't show up, you delete some stuff. So I'm gonna delete this. Still nothing. Nothing. Okay, so I found it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag in the diffuse, which is right here. Or I'm sorry, my bad. So what we do is we drag in the diffuse. We link color to base color. Then after that, if it's an MRA texture, we add a separate RGB. We link red to metallic. We link green to roughness and blue to anisomorphic. And then we're gonna link the MRA to image, like so. And then next we're gonna add our normal, link it, set the strength to 1, and we're gonna set this to linear, like so. So as you can see, that is textured. The next thing, so that's basically just your basic setup for texturing. It's a separate RGB with the diffuse and a normal map. However, there are some other textures that require transparency. Example, the grass. So we copy the name and we just paste it here. Here it is, the grass. I'm gonna move this to my other into my other monitor. So my way of texturing grass is we link normal to normal. I mean normal, or color to color, and set the strength to 1 and set this to linear. Next we link the diffuse, which is right here. And as you can see, here is black. So to fix this, we link alpha to alpha. And then we come here to the material tab. We scroll down to settings, and then under blend mode we set this to alpha clip, and just like that we have grass. That looks like good, and that is how you set up grass. So, and then the other textures are example, like other transparent textures are graffiti right here. So I'm just gonna grab this right here. So we link the diffuse to we do that. Then we link alpha to alpha and set this to alpha hashed since it's graffiti. And just like that, the graffiti is transparent, set up black, which is what we want. So that's pretty much like textures that aren't obscure at all and don't have material blending in them. There's other textures called world grid materials. Now, what I like to do is I like to have the game open for reference. I cannot currently do this since I am banned on the game, because I kept on leaving matches, so that's fun. But if you can open it, it is helpful if you do. But what I know is that here, there is a wood texture. So we'll open up the map textures folder, and we'll just search for wood. And we know that this is like kind of like wood planks, so probably these 3 textures here would look best. I only know this because I've done it with past experience many times texturing this. So we're gonna use these 3 textures right here, like so. And we're gonna start with the normal. So strength, set the strength to 1. We're gonna link color to color, so that's to linear. Oh, and one more thing, before you're texturing world grid materials, always be sure to click this X and hit new, because if not, it textures the all the world grid materials. So you only want it to affect one object, then do it for the one object, basically. Now I'm just gonna paste in what we had. So then we're gonna link color to base color. And here it is, and make sure and now I'm gonna add a separate RGB. And red is metallic, green to roughness, and blue to anamorphic, and then link this to this. And just like that, the wood for split is textured. So this was previously a world grid material, and now it's textured. So that is one way to texture world grid materials. Another way is by using screenshots. So I'm gonna use another map called Haven. So I'm going to open that really quick. So give me a second. Okay guys, so as you can see here, we have Haven imported. So one thing that you will notice is, well, the ground is a world grid material. So, but we want to texture it. So I already have some pre-made screenshots that I took like a while ago, like months ago. So for example, this is one of them. This is the floor for like what's it called? This is the floor for Seasite. So to texture it, we're gonna hit the X, we're gonna hit new. So now if we change it, it only affects this ground right here. And then we're also gonna do it for this, and we're just gonna hit minus. So now if we do this, yep, it does the entire map. So what we do is we're just gonna drag the diffuse right here, and we're gonna link color to base color. Now if we do it, it already does it like fairly nicely, so we don't really need to do any adjusting. But if we need to, we want to have Node Wrangler enabled. You can do that by going to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, searching for Node Wrangler, and then we're gonna select the floor one, and we're gonna hit Control T, and this creates a mapping node. So we can just do Control T, and now we can adjust the location. We can adjust the rotation of it. And lastly, you can adjust the scale. So if we need it to be like really big or really small, we can do that. But in this case, we don't need it, so it is fine. However, let's say we want to texture this brick. I know that there's graffiti there. Let's say we want to texture this brick. We just create a new material. We go to tab, we hold L, and we're just gonna hit assign. I'm just gonna create something like this. I'm just gonna delete these because it's getting away from the point. So hold L, and I'm just holding L to do this. Gonna hit assign. Okay, so these are bricks in the game, right? I have a screenshot of, well, bricks. What I can do is I can add this wall one like so, and obviously this looks terrible. It just doesn't work. So I will basically bring this down so then the scale goes up, and I'll do that for both the X and the Y. And now I'm gonna adjust the location Y, so then this intersection, like right there, is on the wood. I'm also gonna adjust the location X, so it looks like that. And you can make this seamless in Photoshop, but it's pretty difficult to do with bricks, and I just haven't had the time. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. But if your shot has like cameras in it, and the depth of field is really shallow, then you're not gonna notice it. So it works. But if you have a map cinematic, then you're gonna want to use Cmap or some external tool to texture it. But that is pretty much the basics for map texturing. Once you've done it a lot, you can get like an entire site done in like maybe 6-7 hours. But it's still very difficult to do. I will be going over how lighting works in Blender and how to use it fairly effectively. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is you want to open up Blender. This might take a bit, so give it a sec. Okay, once we have Blender open, we can delete everything in the scene. The first thing that I want to do is I want to go over each type of light. So to add a light, you do Shift A, or you can hit Add at the top left. And we're going to go down to light, and as you can see, there's a ton of different lights. So the first one is we are going to add a point light. So what a point light does is it's basically light coming from a small point in the 3D space. So if we add a cube and we go into rendered view and we increase the light, you can see it looks like it's just coming from a point. And if we move the point, you can see that the lighting changes. If we add a plane, this is demonstrated better, as you can see. The next type of light is a sunlight. This light is meant to be used from a distance, and it's meant to be like a major light source. Now, depending on where you position the light, the shadow will change. So as you can see right here, it's that, but then the moment I rotate this and like put it over here, as you can see, the shadow has moved. The thing about a sunlight is you can change the color, and it's basically almost just like a global like illumination. And that's pretty much what a sunlight is. Personally, I don't think you need to use a sunlight if you're using an HDRI. However, if you're not using an HDRI, sunlights can be helpful. The next type of light is a spotlight. A spotlight is a light, except it only puts the light on a specific area, and not to mention that light is in a circle. So as you can see, the light is only in a circle. Even though it's coming from a point, it's being projected as a circle. The difference between a spotlight and a point light is a point light, it's not constricted to only be projected on like one area, but a spotlight, it's like one area. The next type of light is an area light. The thing about an area light is you can basically control like how big it gets. So I would say an area light is a mix between a sunlight and a point light, because it's coming from a point, but you don't have to have it so far away. So that's pretty much all the lights that you need. And also an area light is used, I think, more of like just like an extra detail. I personally don't like to make my lighting composed of these, but they're very helpful. So the first thing that we're going to start with is a term called 3-point lighting. Basically what 3-point lighting is lighting on the left, lighting on the right, lighting in front, and then other times when 4-point lighting, it's also lighting in the back. So to make 3-point lighting, we just add a point light. We have it here. Guess it's like 46. Duplicate it, move it over here, duplicate it, move it over here, and move it like this. And as you can see, the cube is lit very nicely. We can increase this a bit more, and you can see the cube very visibly. However, if we wanted to maybe add a backlight, we can, and as you can see, this is what it does. And yeah, so this would be like 4-point lighting. A backlight is helpful if you want to create like an edge on a silhouette. Let me find an example. So right here, this is a good example. You can see the light is coming off the edge. You can see it here as well. It's very helpful, and like when creating dramatic stuff. So that's what a backlight would generally be used for. But this is a basic 3-point lighting setup right here. You might also want to do it with area lights if you're doing 3-point lighting, so you can focus it on an area. So like this, like this, this. And as you can see, this is a better lighting setup than what we had before with point lights. Another cool thing that you can do with lighting is we have our overall lighting right here, the point, but we can also set this to like maybe a red, and we can set the other light to like a blue. And what this will do is it creates a fairly nice contrast. So basically, and you can do the same thing. So orange and teal is another good one. So creates contrast. Green and pink is another one. So yeah, so that's basically all it is for 3-point lighting. Or like, I'm sorry, wrong thing. For like some contrasty lighting. This is a pretty cool effect that you can make in Blender. Let's see what else. Something else that's pretty cool is, let's say you're making a scene. So I'm gonna go back into this view. Let's say you're making like a scene, so you know, you scale it up, you do this, or I'm just gonna make like a really simple hallway. So we do this, right? Yeah. Then we do this, we duplicate it, we move it over here, we duplicate it, we move it up, we rotate it on the y-axis, 90 degrees, move it over here, do this, scale it down, extend it. Okay, so, and then I'm just gonna show this up. Okay, so here we have our quote-unquote like hallway, right? We can basically make a point light, right? We can move this point light over here. And what we can do is we can have it maybe at the back, and we can move it up a bit so you can't see it. what we can do is we can increase the strength, like, I mean, like, a lot, like, maybe 5,000. And now if we look at the back, you can see that the hull is, like, illuminated. And it can look really cool when, like, you have it, like, over here. And, like, it's a dark area, and then that's a certain color. So, like, a red or something, like, that would look pretty cool. So that's one thing that I like to do with lighting. It's just a personal thing. It's not really a technique, just it's cool, I guess. That's pretty much all I know about lighting. Sorry about my voice crack, but that's pretty much all I know about lighting. I don't like know a ton yet, but it's pretty much like the rundown on what you do with lighting. So yes, and I will be teaching you all how to take advantage of VDBs and use them for replicating explosions, smoke, you name it. So let's begin. So in the pack, in the README file, this is work in progress, so it might not be the final one. You will see Embergen free VDBs. You're gonna copy this, then we're gonna go onto Chrome and we're going to paste it, and we're gonna go to the website real quick. So once we're here, if we scroll down, we can see that there's some free VDBs that we can use. These range from smokes to gasoline to mid-air explosions and fire. You can also use the actual software Emmision and make your own. However, it has a fairly hefty price of I think it's $60 a year. Let's see real quick. Oh, I'm sorry, it's $230 a year. It's it's $24 a month, which is just outrageous. But you get a really good software in return. Also, if you are an Octane licensed subscriber and you pay $40 a month, you get Embergen for free included, which is very, very good. So what you can do is you can download the VDBs, and once they're downloaded, they're not included in the pack because I didn't make them. However, for example, here's the smoke plume, and it's just a ton of VDB files. So you just want to download it and put it into a folder. And once that's done, we can go ahead and open up Blender and we can start making it. So once we're in Blender, what we can do is we can go to shading, world, and we can just make an HDRI. So add an environment texture, like color to color, and just choose one. And I'm just going to create a plane just so we have, a plane, so we have a base to work with. Once this is done, we will do Shift A, and then we want to see volume, and we're going to hit import OpenVDB. Next, you're going to choose it. So in this case, I'm just going to do building implosion. Hit A and hit import OpenVDB volume. So you want to move a few frames, because if not, the VDB won't appear. And you want to scale this down just a bit. So let's scale it, and now we're going to move it. And as you can see, here is the VDB. It doesn't look that nice in Eevee, which is why when you're using these VDBs, you should always try to make them in cycles. So for reference, here it is in cycles versus Eevee, and I'm gonna render this on my GPU real quick. As you can see, it's a very, very big difference compared to Eevee. And let's say you want to adjust this. We're gonna hit new material, and it already starts with the principled volume. So if I go into rendered view again, you can see here's the volume. We can increase the density to maybe 2, and as you can see, the smoke is a lot thicker. We can also change the color of it. So let's say you want the Omen smokes. I believe his smokes are like dark blue or purple. You can use this to make Omen smokes in Valorant, and I can actually skip quite a bit, like 70, I can go into rendered view. And as you can see, we have the building implosion, and it looks very, very nice. So you can use these to basically replicate Omen smokes. You can also use the actual Embergen software. I have not tried it out yet, so I cannot help y'all with creating stuff in it because it costs a lot of money, so I'm not gonna buy it. But that's a very basic thing with this. You can change the emission color if you want to like add an emission to it, so like maybe red emission or something. I don't know really why, but like you can. And it really looks pretty cool when you apply it. Do you see this? This looks so sick. You can tell it's like a blue, and it's almost like an inverted effect, kind of. This would be pretty cool for like a video game cartoon thing, but this is a pretty basic thing. And then the last thing is temperature, so we can set this to like 0. And if we set this to like white with no emission, it would be a it would be like black. And then if we set, I believe if we set the temperature to like 100 or whatever, or 1000 or whatever, it would be a different color. So that's about it, I believe. And then there's also absorption color, which is kind of like a secondary color within the smoke. So it's pretty much what it is. If you go back into EV, this is a very rough like adjustment thing of it. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you can use VDBs in Blender effectively. So yeah, and in today's video I will be teaching y'all how to retexture your Valorant skins so they fit your needs. So in this case I want to retexture Raze. I want to change the yellow to maybe a red, as well as the hat color. And I also want to like put on like maybe a team logo on there. So this is really easy to do, and let's start. So the first thing I want to do is we want to open the dot blend with the characters in it. So here's our character, Raze. What we want to do is we want to open up the shading tab right here. Here's our character. What we want to do is we want to find the diffuse in the body material. So here's the diffuse texture. What we're going to do is we're going to click this, and we're going to hit write file to current directory. Now we can close this. We can open up our pack and go to our characters. And now there's a new folder called textures. We can open up this texture, and here's our diffuse material. To edit these textures, I would recommend a software like After Effects or Photoshop to edit the photos. In this case, I'll be using After Effects because I'm more familiar with editing in it and adjusting photos than Photoshop. However, if you're fluent with Photoshop, just follow what I do in After Effects and like do it in Photoshop. So I'm gonna open up After Effects here real quick, and I will unpause the recording once it has opened. Okay guys, so as you can see here, After Effects is open. What I can do is I can find this diffuse texture, and I can drag it into our After Effects here, and then I can maximize it so it's in our entire screen, and we're gonna drag it to the bottom here, and we're gonna let go, and now it creates a composition, and we're gonna open up this composition. We're gonna open up the composition, and now as you can see, here's our character. So this is the hat that we wanted to retexture. So we're gonna start by creating an adjustment layer. We're gonna mask it so it only affects this area. And then we're gonna add an effect called change to color. We're gonna change that bit there to red basically. And we're gonna increase the saturation of it. gonna end the tolerance, and that looks good. However, you can see that the mask is cutting into some of the other parts. So we're going to delete the mask, and we are going to literally do it manually. So like this. Oops. Gonna mask. Gonna do it like this. 1, 2, 3. Just gonna keep on masking. What? Here's our mask. Gonna keep on doing it. And you just need this to be fairly precise, because if not, there is consequences. Okay, and last but not least, we can close the mask and we can turn on the adjustment. And as you can see, nothing really went wrong, which is very good. So yeah, it's very good. And we can continue doing it to basically all the clothing parts. So I'm gonna do it right here. We duplicate it. We can delete the mask. And now we can do it simply over here. And this is just the basics of retexturing. You can go a lot more into it using the clone stamp tool in Photoshop. But this is just like really basics. It's like nothing. Oh, whoops. So I'm just gonna create like one more point here just to adjust it. Maybe one more point here. I'm going to extend this because there's not a change on this area, which is really good. Because we need it to cover everything, and our goal is to let it not cover stuff that isn't the thing. There's one little bit right there that here that I need to change. Okay, we are good. So as you can see, that one is done. We can continue. So I'm gonna do it over here with the this part. And we're just gonna keep on doing this until most of the yellow parts have been changed. We could do it like this since it isn't changing the color of that part. We can also do it here since, if I'm not mistaken, we can delete this mask. Yeah, it doesn't change it much at all. See? So you want to keep on doing this. I'm going to do it for these two pieces right here, and then I'm going to be done retexturing. So just going to do that. And actually right here there isn't really nothing terrible going on, so I'm good. So now that this is all changed, we're good to go basically. It's pretty much it. So So yeah, what we can do is we can go to composition, save from as a file. I'm just gonna save it onto my desktop. Make sure it's a PNG. We're gonna call this retexture. We're gonna render it. And now we can close After Effects since we do not need it anymore. Now we can open up Blender. We can simply append our character. So characters, raise, object, select these. And now when we go into shading, under the body, we're going to change the diffuse. So to do this, we hit the X, we hit open, we hit desktop, and we open up the retexture. And just like that, we have a retextured version. Now I should have done this, I just didn't. But as you can see, the retexture looks really nice for what we just did in that amount of time. And it's very, very difficult to tell if there was any errors, if something splashed onto it, since we did a good job. And just like that, that's pretty much the basics of retexturing. You can do a lot more with the normal maps and logos and indents and the character. You can do scratches. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but this is just going over how to change the diffuse. And you can customize it however you want. So yeah, how to make a scene basically start to finish. Yeah, so we're gonna start by opening up Blender, and we want to import your map. So file, import FBX, or if it's textured, file, append. You want to find your map. So I'm gonna grab a texture map on split. You want to go to object, want to hit A, and then you want to hit append. Once you have the map imported, you want to delete everything that isn't in the scene, because if you don't do that, Blender will lag a lot. So I'm gonna do that real quick with everything that I can delete. So, yep. So I'm gonna have my scene on B site, right here. So I'm gonna delete all this stuff here. This stuff too. Yes. And as you can see, most of the stuff here has been deleted. This looks pretty good. I'm also gonna delete all the lighting because you just don't need it. And a few more lights, so I'm gonna delete those as well. Okay, so the lighting has been deleted, and the next thing is basically just to choose where you want your scene to be. I'm gonna have mine probably be kind of like a pan around shot, so it might be something like this, or potentially going forward, and then maybe if I could do something where it's goes forward, focuses on the hand, and then goes backwards. That can potentially look nice. So I already have my death animation made for the character that I wanted. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go file. So I already have my my death animation that I want. So this is gonna be a death sim, basically going from here, focusing on the hand, and going back. I made the death sim using Mixamo because the Valorant death PSAs don't really work that well. So Mixamo is more like helpful for that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go File, or first we're going to close this and create a new collection. So I always have a collection of the map, so I'm just gonna call this map, and then I have a collection of everything else in my scene. Also, when making your animation for like the character, don't do it in this, do it in a separate .blend file, because it's so much easier to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to do File, Append, we're going to find where it is, and I just have this raw thing, and I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to import this, like so, and I'm just going to move all this over here. So let me do that real quick. Whoops. Alright, I'm just gonna move these two. And just move them to the appropriate position. Okay, so as you can see, here's our character. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move this down, so then her feet are on the ground. Then after that, we're going to rotate on the z-axis 180 degrees, or that was only 18, whoops. There we go. So now, if I play it, as you can see, the character is, well, there. One thing that I will have to do is I will have to change the delta transform of this. Okay, so I need to move the AK. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy these coordinates, or at least take a screenshot of them. And I'm just gonna basically copy the AK to roughly where the object is in the delta transform location. So this is 63.276. And I'm getting this off a screenshot that I took. And last but not least is the Z location, which is 3.992. That looks good. However, I'm just going to move the X just a bit and the Y just a bit. So as you can see, I just have the AK essentially just falling out of her hand. That's good, but it's falling forward, which we don't want. We want it going backwards. So I'm just gonna set this to 180 in rotation. So then, okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that. We don't really necessarily need to have that. So basically, it doesn't need to land perfectly because it's not gonna be in shot. But just for the sake of it, I am going to do it so then the animation looks proper, I guess you could say. So let's just move this down. And I'm gonna make a keyframe for all these, like so. It's not too bad. I could definitely have done it better with physics, but for the sake of this, it's fine. So the next thing is, I guess, just having a layout of the scene. Looking at what it is. So this all looks pretty much fine to me. We don't need to do much of anything else really, except animate the camera. But environment wise, this looks fine. So what we're gonna do is gonna hit New Camera. And now we do the shift and then the button next to 1, and then we move our camera basically to the right area, and we want this to be like our starting position, I guess you could say. So what we can do is under the lens, you want to zoom it in and set the length to field of view. I usually have mine around 18 or so. I think that honestly works best. And the other thing that's helpful is you want to go to your viewport display, and there's this thing called pass part out, and what this does is it darkens the rest of the screen. I do this so then you can like see what your scene will look like, because it can be misleading when you have it like this, you know. So this just helps you like almost focus better on it. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to enable center, and we're going to enable rule of thirds. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the camera movement, but I am going to try and make it look pretty nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this little button. This is an auto keyframer, so each time we move the camera, it will insert a keyframe. And we're also going to want to keyframe all this. Next, we're going to go to the point where we want, like, I guess, like the hand to almost show. So, like, right about here. Looks good. And now, as you can see, this looks awful. So, to fix it, every 15 frames, we're just going to change the rotation so it fits, or like it still fits, you know. So this already looks pretty nice, actually. And it like focuses on the hand. So then I guess we can move to the end, which is about 100, and we can just have it like this. So, and based on what we've learned, we need to recenter the object, so we can just rotate it like that. On 50, keep it center. Like so. And what's also very helpful is on the last one, we have the corner on this like third, right there on the line, and then we also have our character on this third and this third, which looks really good symmetrically. So now if you play it, whoa, okay, so it actually goes through a wall of the camera, and because we don't see the wall in the final, what we can do is we can actually delete the vertices of this part of the wall. So now if we go into object mode, it shouldn't, okay, it does just a bit right there. So, but once again, that doesn't show in the final. So what we can do is we can maybe just move these vertices right here. Or yeah, we can just move these vertices actually. Over just a bit. Now we can go back into object mode. And then we have to fix this one right here, but this one isn't too much of a fix either. We just have to move these two and this. So now if we go back into object mode, there should be nothing blocking the camera, which there's not, which is really good. And for some reason this didn't work right. Okay, so now as you can see, we can set the endpoint for our keyframes, and pretty much the camera movement is done, but it's just like not on the center. So I'm gonna be focusing on almost like recentering the object the entire time. So let's do that. Awesome. Okay, so this looks really nice. The only thing that I think needs work is the fact that it goes up. I don't think it should really go up. I think it should actually start going down. So this looks fairly inconsistent, but all we have to do, I guess, is just keep this on center. There we go. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so now now we have camera movement done. The next thing that I'm going to do is, earlier in the series we made an emission map for Jet. I want to apply that onto our character. So to do that, we're gonna go into shading. We're gonna make our way over here. And we're gonna grab our emission map. So I'm gonna do that real quick, or at least try and find one. Okay, I found one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the body here, and this is our character. So what we're gonna do is wait, I'm also gonna, I don't really want bone maps. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to body, and we're gonna create something known as an add shader. What an add shader does is it adds two shaders together, and it combines them almost as an overlay. So like one either overlays the other. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do Shift A, and we're gonna add an emission as well as the add shader. We're gonna link emission to shader, and then we're gonna drag in our emission, and we're gonna link color to color. So now it almost looks normal. However, if we go down here, we have this. So what we can do is we can increase the strength of this. So personally, for me, this looks good. And then I also made this glow. So if I open up the PNG, we have this and we have this. So both look really nice when combined together. And I'm just gonna move those two down there. So now we're good on that. And then the other thing is Cmap imported the beta like glass shards thing. So I personally don't like this. So to fix this, we're gonna go to our desktop. We're gonna find our VALORANT pack. I'm sorry, 3D. Then we're gonna go to our map textures, and we're gonna search for glass shards, or just glass. We'll find the glass shards. And then we can, I guess, find the I think it's M1 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's M1. So we can just replace the diffuse on this. So we go to glass shard, and here's our diffuse. Whoa, okay. So first off, we can replace this with this. This with this. And this with this. And color to emissive color A. And as you can see, it should be replaced now. We do need to seems fairly pale. I am just going to just add on the diffuse and just call it a day. Yeah, that looks good to me. Since it's in the background, we don't really need to do much. I can add an emission to it, but it wouldn't be anything that crazy. Yeah, okay, I like that. Yeah, okay, that works perfect. So there's like the first thing done. and there's some like major changes that we've done, and that looks really nice to me. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add an HDRI. So we go into shading, we go to world. We're gonna do Shift A, environment texture. We're gonna link color to color. Now we're gonna hit open, and we're gonna go to our downloads, and we're gonna find HDRI. I like to use old outdoor theater. I'm gonna go to rendered. I will be rendering in cycles for the final, but for the purposes of adjusting the HDRI so that the sky is in the right place, I will be doing this in EV for a bit. So this doesn't look good, so I need to change the rotation on the y-axis, like so. Want a little bit of trees still in there. Okay, and that looks really nice to me. So that, I guess, is the first part of like everything. So I would say now that we're pretty much set up for depth of field. So if you don't know what depth of field is, it basically is what makes the the background blurred and the character in focus. It creates kind of like a contrast. So to make this, we go to our camera and we enable depth of field. So there's two ways to do this. You can keyframe focus distance, or you can you can keyframe focus distance, or you can or you can make it empty on where you want it to focus. I'm gonna be using focus distance because if something's in focus, I want it to be realistic, right? So I'm gonna do focus distance. So I'm gonna start with it focused on the AK, and here's the camera focus distance keyframes. Gonna move to 15. We're gonna change this. Gonna go to 30, and we're gonna change this even more, like so. Gonna go to 24. We need this to be in focus. 20, that's in focus. Perfect. Gonna go to 40. Need this to be in focus, so let's just do that. Let's go to 40-ish, like here. Not really in focus. Perfect. Let's go to 50. Let's get this in focus. Nice, done. Let's go to 60. Get this in focus. Let's go to this. This isn't in focus. And we're just gonna continue doing this. This is probably a very boring part, but it does the stuff that we need it to. So we're gonna do this, yeah. Gonna go to 80. Gonna do this. Gonna go to 90. And we're just gonna focus it on there. Go to 80. Okay, now we're gonna go to 95. Done, and done. Okay, so now it is in focus and we are ready to go. So now we can set the render to cycles. You can go to GPU compute. And it is very dark in the scene because we've not added lighting. So earlier in the series we covered the basics of lighting. So I'm just gonna add a point light and go from there. So drag this down. I'm gonna move this over here, so it's like 60 watts or something. Let's go into rendered. The other option is setting our HDRI strength to like 6. Even 8 actually. Okay, that does some stuff. Also a good layout to have is doing it like this. So then having your shader here, having your camera here, and this is a rendered camera as well. So we can duplicate this, move it over here. Also, the depth of field here is way too shallow, so I'm gonna increase this to like 2 or 2 point, or actually not 3. Yeah, 3 ricks. So this looks fairly nice. I'm gonna try and make a 3-point lighting setup. So this is gonna be the backlight. So probably something like that. Yeah, that looks good. And then lastly, I'm gonna make this area here blue by creating another point light and basically just making it blue. However, we don't want the light to be too noticeable. I'm gonna have it like there. And that actually looks really nice. And then I'm gonna make another orange light. However, this one is gonna be like an orange kind of. And we're gonna make this an area light. We're gonna move it over here, and this is, I guess, just gonna be like kind of like an overseeing like shadow, I guess. Or like an overseeing light. And this, I think, yeah, this is pretty much a done scene. It looks really nice to me. And that's pretty much how you make a scene from start to finish. We have been recording now for about 25 minutes. So that's about how long it takes. It's really not that hard once you have learned how to do most of the basics. And yeah, this is basically the rundown on render settings that y'all need to know. So basically, I use something called eCycles. So with eCycles, it's a render engine that that basically has really good denoiser. So if y'all can get eCycles, I would much like recommend it. If not, Blender has its own denoiser, but it takes a bit longer. So if you want shorter render times, I would use eCycles. So the first render settings that I will go to is basically kind of like eCycles render settings. So my samples are 128. That's pretty much it. Under AI denoise, I create the denoise and I set it to about 0.961. Multi-pass, transmission, high quality pass, and volumetrics are all enabled. Under sampling, I always have adaptive sampling enabled, so if something's overexposed, it'll just fill it all with white, and that's very helpful. And I always keep motion blur off because there's gonna be RSMB in the final. And under film, depending on what the scene is, if I want it to be like a black background, then I'll have transparent on, but usually that's not the case. And that is all for the scene. For the output, I always do AVI raw or PNG sequence. For PNG sequence, it's always 16 color depth, RGBA, 0% compression, and I just choose the folder by clicking this. For AVI raw RGB, and that's literally it. If you want to render ever an MP4, you click this, choose FFmpeg video. Under encoding, you choose MPEG 4. The codec is H.264, and perceptually lossless for the quality. And from here, you can just choose where you want it to save. If you're doing regular Blender and not an external engine, what I would do is, so we come down to sampling here. The render is always 128, and the viewport is always 32. I'm just gonna remove this real quick, if y'all don't mind. Okay, so, basically, so sampling is at 128, viewport is at 32. This doesn't matter, it's just how much the viewport will render. Under denoising, this is where it gets pretty cool. So we check render, and then we choose optics. If you're using an AMD graphics card, you want to choose NLM or Open Image Denoise. But if you're using NVIDIA, use optics. Basically what it'll do is it'll go tile by tile and render, which is helpful. But you want to keep that on. I'm going to turn that off because I'm not rendering with it. But yeah, adaptive sampling is also on. Under performance, you want to click auto tile size. I believe it's an add-on actually. Yeah, you just want to enable render auto tile size, so then it'll just like render how much your PC can handle, and this usually leads to a faster render time. But render settings, honestly, it's not that much to do. And then also this is pretty much the same as the other one. Oh, and also your frame rate should always be 24. Forgot to mention that. And then what you want to do is you want to hit render. At the top left, render animation, or Control F12, and it will render frame by frame, and this can take hours hours to make. But once it's done, and you have a really nice looking render. And that's pretty much all there is to render settings. Hope that y'all enjoyed. Have a great day. I'm Brainez, and peace.